By July, 34 people were dancing. By September, over 400. By winter, some were dead. Strasbourg, France, July 1518. A woman named Frau Troffea stepped into the street at dawn and began to dance. Not socially, obsessively. Her body moved in jerking, frenzied motions, sweat pooling beneath her feet. Within a week, 34 people had joined her. Within a month, the entire city was watching in horror as 400 of its citizens danced themselves toward collapse. Here's what makes this moment matter. This wasn't performance art. This wasn't celebration. This was a documented, witnessed epidemic of involuntary movement that defied every explanation physicians of the era could offer. And the strangest part, we still don't fully understand what caused it. Let's rewind. Strasbourg in 1518 was already under strain. The city had endured plague, famine, and religious anxiety in the decades prior. People were exhausted, spiritually fractured. Then came Frau Troffea, a woman whose name appears in municipal records with almost no other detail. We don't know her age. We don't know her occupation. What we do know is that her dance changed everything. Within days, her movements attracted followers. And I mean attracted not in mockery, but in a kind of infectious pull. One by one, citizens felt compelled to join. They couldn't stop. Some danced until their feet bled. Some collapsed from exhaustion only to rise again hours later and continue. The city's physicians were baffled. Their theories ranged from bad air to divine punishment to astrological influence. None of it stuck. By August, the city council made a decision that sounds absurd to us now. They hired musicians. The logic was straightforward. If people were compelled to dance, perhaps they needed better music. Perhaps proper rhythm would tire them out faster. So they brought in drummers and pipers. It didn't work. If anything, it made things worse. By September, physicians took a different approach. They banned music entirely. They forbade crowds from gathering. They even tried to prevent the dancers from moving, physically restraining them. Nothing worked. The compulsion was neurological, not social. These weren't people choosing to dance. They were people whose bodies had betrayed them. And here's where the historical record becomes genuinely haunting. As autumn deepened, some of the original dancers began to die. Not from any obvious cause, from exhaustion. From the sheer physical toll of weeks of involuntary movement. The city that had hired musicians to speed up recovery was now watching citizens literally dance themselves to death. So what actually happened? Historians and medical researchers have spent centuries debating this. The most credible theories fall into two camps. The first, ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye grain in damp conditions. Strasbourg had experienced wet summers. Ergot contains ergotamine, a compound that causes spasms, hallucinations, and involuntary movement. It's chemically similar to LSD. But there's a problem with the ergot theory. The symptoms don't perfectly align. Ergotism causes vasoconstriction, essentially, the blood vessels tighten. You'd expect gangrene, tissue death, severe pain. The dancers reported compulsion, not pain. They danced for hours. They were conscious. They were aware. That doesn't fit ergotism as neatly as we'd like. The second theory is psychological. Mass psychogenic illness, what used to be called mass hysteria. The idea is that acute social stress, combined with the sight of one person's bizarre behavior, can trigger a cascade of neurological responses in others. Stress literally rewires the nervous system. Suggestibility becomes contagious. You see someone dancing compulsively, your brain interprets a threat, and your body follows suit. And honestly, both theories might be true. A combination. A town under psychological pressure, exposed to ergot-contaminated grain, where the first case triggered a cascade of mass psychogenic illness that made everything worse. History rarely offers clean answers. What we have instead is a moment where biology and psychology collided in a way that terrified an entire city. By December, the dancing had largely stopped. Some dancers recovered, some didn't. The city moved on, but the memory lingered. Strasbourg had witnessed something that challenged everything it thought it knew about the human body and mind. And for centuries afterward, historians treated it as folklore, a myth too strange to be real. What's remarkable is that this wasn't unique. Similar dancing plagues occurred in other European cities, Aachen, Cologne, Augsburg. There's a pattern here. Periods of social breakdown followed by contagious movement disorders. It's as if the body remembers stress in ways the mind can't articulate. as if sometimes the only language available is motion itself. The dancing plague of 1518 reminds us of something we often forget. The line between the physical and psychological isn't a wall, it's permeable. Stress becomes fever. Anxiety becomes paralysis. Terror becomes motion. A town dancing itself to death isn't a medieval curiosity, it's a window into how fragile our nervous systems really are. And Frau Troffea, she vanished from the historical record as completely as she entered it. No name for her recovery, no account of her later life. Just a woman who stepped into the street one morning and for a moment became the center of a historical mystery that we're still trying to solve nearly 500 years later. History is full of moments like this, events so strange that they're often dismissed or forgotten. But they're worth examining. They're worth understanding. Because hidden in the margins of what we think we know are stories that reshape how we see ourselves. Subscribe every week. We unearth another story history tried to bury.